guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is one that I'm really excited about because I've been meaning to film it for a really long time now. Today's video is all about eyebrows. It is my kind of in-depth walkthrough tutorial all about how I fill in my eyebrows, my eyebrow maintenance, and everything to do with that. If you see a puppy belly, if I move the wrong way, it's because she's laying right there. She's so cute. So let's go ahead and jump right on into it. So before we even start talking about the products that I use and how I go about filling in my brows, I first want to start out with my grooming and maintenance of my brows and what I do to upkeep them, because if your brows are unkempt, it's gonna make things 1,000 times harder for you, and they're definitely not gonna look clean and sharp like you like them to. So basically, I have been growing out my eyebrows for about the last 3 years, just because in high school I always got my eyebrows done by somebody else. Yes, of course, I have the luxury now that I work in a hair salon of doing my own eyebrows. So I would suggest finding a stylist that you trust. I always tell my sister when she's on vacation or out away and I'm not able to do her eyebrows for her, I would always tell her, find somebody that you like the eyebrows that they have, because the styles and trends that people like is what they try to push on other people. They might not mean to do it, but it's just what ends up happening. Everybody that I wax, I want them to have a full, thick, beautiful brow, and some people like super thin brows, and I respect that. Most stylists, the eyebrows that they have are the eyebrows that generally they will try to give you. I personally wax my own eyebrows just because I know exactly how I want them to look and how I want them to be able to be filled in. I would not suggest that you do your own at home, just because that can get very messy and very out of hand very quickly. So I would just suggest finding somebody that you trust and stick with them. Now, obviously, I'm sure you all know that this is not my natural hair color. My hair color is actually a really light, sandy, ashy, between a brown and a blonde. So naturally, so are my eyebrows. So my tip to you would be, if you do color your hair way darker than your natural hair color, I would suggest getting them tinted. Of course, by a professional. Again, don't try to do this at home. It's gonna get very messy and out of hand very quickly. And eyebrows don't usually always grow back as fast as your hair on your head. So I would say make sure you find someone that you really, really trust. Okay, now to jump into products. I have been using the Benefit Cosmetics Precisely My Brow Pencil. Before I was using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Definer. I've used multiple Rimmel London drugstore eyebrow pencils, and this is the best one that I have found. But everything works differently for different people. My eyebrows are, I mean, these are tinted right now, so they look thicker than they are. But this just helps me get super thin, defined hair-like strokes. The brow definer was a little bit too much for me. If you have a fuller and thicker brow and you want to cover more space at a time, you might want to try out the Anastasia brow definer. I loved it for probably about a year. I used it, and I wouldn't use anything else but that. But then once I tried this out, this took the cake. I have been using this for a little over a year now, and I absolutely love it. I would highly recommend it. So when you take the caps off of the Precisely My Brow, it has the end with the color in it, and then it has a spoolie on the other end. Basically what I do to start out my brows is I just comb through them and make sure that all of the hairs are laying down. And what I like to do is I start right about here in this area, and that is where I start to make my underline. So I just start about here, right below the arch, and I kind of just, I will accentuate the tail end a little bit, so I'll bring it down just a little bit farther than where my tail end of my eyebrow ends. So then I will comb that through again, and the trick to this too is you kind of, at least me personally, this is all about how I do my eyebrows. I forgot to mention this before we started the video. This is not the only way to do your eyebrows. This is just how I like them. This is kind of like the Instagram eyebrow that everybody has going on right now. So I like to make my eyebrows from start to end one fluid line if I can help it. So then for the top, I do pretty much the same exact thing. I start a little bit farther back, and then this is where I kind of do things a little differently. I will comb down the tail ends of my brows, right like that, so you can kind of see an outline of where my arch would be if I was lucky enough to have one. So I kind of just fill that in and connect it to the bottom line. And then you just fill in the gap. And sometimes I will pull that line out just a teeny bit more, but nothing too harsh and too crazy, because I do, believe it or not, at the end of the day, I do kind of like my eyebrows to look semi-natural. So I'm just gonna go ahead and comb through that product, make sure everything's blended out. And then when we make it to the front, this is why I like to tint my eyebrows, because as you can see, I have really thin, barely there eyebrow hairs in the front, and we do want it to still look like that faded gradient, because if you go back on my Instagram, you will see the boxy block eyebrows that I used to rock. I don't know why I ever thought that those looked good, but hey, we all go through our stages. I've definitely went through plenty of stages with my eyebrows. I always am trying new things, new tips and tricks, but this is what I've been doing. So I do like this to still look soft, but I do like it to be a little bit more noticeable than it is. And tinting your eyebrows, you can kind of see that it kind of stained my skin right beneath where my hair lies, and that is good because it kind of gives you a little bit of an outline to go by, and you don't have to fill them in so intensely. That's why I love to tint my eyebrows. So I will actually start right at the front here. Sorry, I gotta look in the mirror. So I will start right in the front, and I will just do one flick up, right like that. And then I'll go right behind that and make another flick and just kind of do a few hair-like strokes, and then just kind of filling in the sparseness at the bottom to kind of connect to this line right here. But you don't want to make it a super harsh line, because then you're gonna get those super boxy eyebrows that we're trying to avoid. So then I just take my spoolie, and sometimes I take the very tip of the spoolie and kind of like rub it on where that product is to kind of break it up a little bit. And I just really spoolie this out. So then you're left with something like this. I'm gonna go ahead and do this one really quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that both eyebrows are filled in completely, this next step is crucial. This is what I do to my eyebrows a lot when I like them to look super sharp and really precise and defined. Now, if I was just gonna run to the grocery store or run out somewhere really quick, I really wouldn't care much about this, just because I don't really need them to look perfect. But for sure, if I'm gonna take makeup pictures, or if I'm going to go to dinner or something like that, or work, I would definitely do this. So I like to take my just everyday concealer and a kind of like a flat definer brush. This is the Morphe M432, and I just take a little bit of that concealer on my brush, just like that. Just a tiny bit. You don't need to overdo this, because I've done that before and it makes a mess. But basically, I just will start at the base of my eyebrow and just lightly make a line up, and then I'll just continue through to the tail end, and you can kind of see how that already made it a lot sharper and a lot more clean. And then I'll do that on the arch too, so I'll come right along here and do that to the top of it, and you can see that just cleaned it up a ton. And then I usually just take my finger and blend out the concealer so that we don't have a huge line. And then I'll just do the same thing to this side really quick. And then whenever I'm done, I will take just what's ever left on my brush, not putting any more product. I will go ahead and if I feel like it needs it, I'll clean up that front. Oh, just a little bit. I like my eyebrows to look super square, so that's why I do this to them. If you like them to be a little bit more natural and rounded, or you can always kind of not do this step and skip that. This is just how I like mine to look. So then I'm just gonna go back in with that pencil and comb through them a little bit more. And then I'm just going to touch up the front. So this next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a little bit of my normal face powder. This is just my powder foundation. I'm just going to take this on a powder puff and just lightly dip it in there. You don't need a lot of product to do this, and then sometimes I will tap it on the back of my hand just to make sure that you don't have too much product. But then after, sometimes, because right now I feel like my eyebrows are a little bold for just mascara. Normally if I had a full eye look going on, this would be alright with me, but I'm just gonna take that powder puff and just stamp over the very fronts of my eyebrows, and right above where I put that concealer, a little bit of my foundation has worn off, so I'll just stamp that, and then I'll just take a big fluffy brush like this and dust over it, and you can see that kind of gave us a little bit more of that fade that we're looking for. So last but not least, I'm going to go in with the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel. I got this because of course, Jaclyn Hill recommended it. She said that this is the only eyebrow gel that she uses. She is typically one of the YouTubers that I trust the most, and it definitely is a super good one. It holds your brows in place all day. I don't have to worry about my eyebrows like going out of place or, you know, being pulled down or anything like that. So I just take the spoolie, and I will take the very tip of the spoolie like I said earlier, and I will first drag that through my eyebrow to place a lot of product down, and then I will take the side of the spoolie and brush it through. And that is it. That's our completed look. Now after this, I would typically just go in with an eyeshadow, hit the brow bone with a little highlight, and you're good to go. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I had fun making it. As you can see, my eyebrows, they look high maintenance, but they really aren't. If I was just doing my makeup and I did my eyebrows, they take me 5 minutes tops. That's if I have to clean them up and stuff goes wrong, because it's rare that things go very, very smoothly. I hope you guys got a few tips and tricks out of this video that you can incorporate into your everyday routine. So make sure you guys subscribe down below before you leave. I really, really appreciate it. And also, if you would like to check out my Instagram for the looks that don't quite make it over to YouTube for a full tutorial, my Instagram is at @AshleyFroman_. But that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! And it took... Are you kidding? What was I gonna say? But that's it. How are they gonna know where to follow you, dummy? That's great. Got lipstick on my teeth. I suck. Listen, you can't interrupt the video. I know. Such a sweet, sweet, sweet girl.